все нормально. Так, я вижу картинку. Картинка же есть. Звук. Да, звук. Просто я почему-то пропадаю с экрана, но это ладно, пофиг. Так. Что по качеству? Так, качество есть. Ну все нормально, все нормально. Так. Ладно, почему-то я не вижу свою камеру, но эта прога все время у меня немножко глючит. Поэтому, ладно уж. Здесь переживу. Так. Окей. Есть тут кто? Напишите в чат, кто-нибудь. Все ли в порядке? Просто есть определенные странности, но я должен понимать, что они не критичные. А, все, отлично. Отлично. Ладно, ладно. Все, отлично, отлично. Куда-то пропала просто камера с моего экрана. Вот вы ее видите, а я почему-то ее не вижу. Ну и ладно. Мне, конечно, тяжело как-то отвлечься и не смотреть на себя так долго, да, но что ж. Ладно, я переосмыслил. Ладно, давайте попробуем. Я обещал. Еще час. Stanley Parable. Посмотрим еще варианты. Я отошел от вчерашнего. Пост Петра меня взбодрил. И... Давайте.
This is the story of a man named Stan.
Вот дали достижение за то, что я вернулся. Может быть, хотя бы ради этого стоило сделать это. Перевернем игру, а эта игра, она ведь только для этого. Включить все компьютеры.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
Чат
memo.
в телеге. Или это не здесь надо сделать? Hi, Dan.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Они не включаются. Так. В целом сегодня погода располагает на стрим, согласны? Все-таки холодновато, я не знаю, кто где и как живет. Но здесь уже скоро будет минус 30. Дэвид Кейдж, это... Этот... Quantic Dream, да?
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
А, ну конечно. Ну, точнее, лучше даже спросить, какие я не проходил. Я не до конца прошел... как его? Фаренгейт. Я где-то там застрял. Так, я помню, здесь были варианты, куда я не сходил. Остальное я все прошел. Лучше, чем Heavy Rain, ничего не было. Beyond Two Souls. Какой-то, я не знаю, скомканный продукт. Вот, я до конца по коридору здесь ходил. Детройт.
and got back on
С
track.
Детройтом у меня есть проблема. С одной стороны, это такая большая игра, реально с множеством ходов и вариантов, но проблема Детройта, что когда ты делаешь выбор в этой игре, ты точно знаешь по какому... Точнее, ты точно знаешь, как сюжет будет развиваться. То есть никакой интриги нет. Ты видел все эти фильмы, ты уже играл во все эти игры, читал все эти книги про роботов, ты плюс-минус знаешь, что будет, и поэтому ты просто... Ты как бы... Ты выбираешь концовку всегда, когда делаешь выбор в Детройте. И это, мне кажется, очень занудным. Плюс видно, что авторы пытаются тебя все время сдвинуть, играть по определенному шаблону, по их основному сюжету. И если ты пытаешься экспериментировать, то они... ну, видно, что игра не вывозит некоторые выборы, которые ты делаешь. Так. Не, ну просто вопрос был... Не, я... Я не помню какой. Точнее, не, я помню, что... Не, я что-то помню. Но не все. Подождите-ка. Как так вышло? Я не сюда хотел прийти. Это был типа, это был крюк, и это мы вернулись опять к плану. Все.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ладно, мы как будто бы вошли в левую дверь. Хотя я входил в правую, но я сделал поворот, и мы сделали крюк, и...
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known that. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Так.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
В фильме? В каком?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
По-моему, вот здесь можно было еще кое-что нажать. И...
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
В каком фильме Никита не было подвала?
This mind control facility It was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Oh, какой фильм.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that
так, в прошлый раз мы выключили все это дело, всю эту историю. Сейчас, мне кажется, надо включить.
For he would dismantle the controls once
целиком.
And for all.
Ну, я... В смысле, эту игру? Не, мы играли, пока не надоело. И вот прошел день, я перезарядился. Попробуем другие варианты. В прошлый раз мы выключили. Давайте в этот раз включим.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do.
Не, не всю.
You
Еще
were
есть вариант,
supposed
куда
to let it
сходить.
go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not?
Тут, может быть, есть какая-то логика.
Time doesn't grow on trees.
Я не понимаю. И где кнопка номер 3?
What's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Нет.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Так, еще мне говорят, все, как будто бы уже почти все варианты
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire.
Тут всегда ты возвращайся к началу.
Wow. Yes.
Dumbledore.
This room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Сомневается.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been
Никто
about
мне не
nothing but
подсказал,
you
где
all
знатоки
this
этой игры.
time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you forgot. Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on
Вот,
your
говорили,
side.
вот то, что я вошел в
Give me a
красный.
chance.
Давайте войдем в
Now
синий.
listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some really critical feedback here.
Да какой фильм Кубрика? Я все, вот, Никита, ты все говоришь о каком-то фильме, о Венди, еще о чем-то, но я так и не понял, о каком фильме Кубрика ты говоришь. Наверное, это... Как же этот фильм назывался? Барри Линдон? Это Барри Линдон. Ну, это было на троечку.
Oh, of course. A 3. Really. Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings? Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes? Wonderful. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look. Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
С таким противным звуком еще происходит. Ой, это невозможно. Потише даже сделать. Кто-нибудь скажите, в этом есть смысл, или мне стоит остановиться? Хочу спойлеров, дайте спойлеров. Не хочу проиграть, но и не хочу тратить время зря. Ладно. Мы не будем на это смотреть.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Блин, пока что это реально лучший путь, который был в этой игре.
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is.
Я, кстати, начинал Firewatch, но мне что-то быстро стало скучно. Может быть, я не знаю, если хотите, можем постримить его. Я просто не очень разобрался, что делать.
Just wandering around, no right or wrong directions,
говорят,
no
круто,
path
Fire,
to
очень
follow.
круто.
You
У
can
меня
just
есть,
go
куплю,
in
все
any...
нормально.
Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing. Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Ну, какой-то интерактив в этой игре появился.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
Получается. Давайте еще.
Yes.
Вон, по прямой, сейчас мы забьем.
It does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Да. Ничего не произошло. Ничего, Rocket League вот так же играется, надо просто пинать с собой мяч в ворота.
Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over. That's right.
Нет.
All the fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set
Привет. Не, из плюсов этой игры точно, что здесь больше зрителей, чем обычно. Когда я играю.
And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around.
Ведущие очень бесячие, реально.
Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much.
Я уже просто стараюсь не вслушиваться, потому что много духоты.
You're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
Здесь, в принципе, не хватает. Блин, вот концепция-то как бы нормальная, неплохая у этой игры. Просто не хватает баланса. Почти каждая ветка скатывается в духоту. Должно быть больше фана, я считаю.
Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley.
тут ничего.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was
Мне
to
кажется,
be the
тут
lead
не
man
будет
in his own
скримеров,
story,
не та
well,
игра.
perhaps he's gotten it, down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait. But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
А, все. Да, и продолжение этого сериала. Так, я, честно говоря, так, вот из того, что из обычных путей, я не знаю, мы как будто бы все попробовали, все. Давайте посмотрим, что еще в новом контенте есть.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
В прошлый раз, когда мы сюда зашли, было душно и скучно. Посмотрим, есть ли тут... Должно же быть что-то повеселее в этом DLC.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Если ты здесь, 18... отлично. Если ты здесь, эта катка проходит лучше, эмоционально.
Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the
Ну, дизайн хороший офиса, я думаю, даже вот в таком приятно работать в целом.
It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Ну ладно, начнем по порядку, чтобы не запутаться.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Okay.
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes, you see,
как у этой игры получилось? Как? Откуда она меня знает?
Jim.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Jim.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually
Да блин, нет, верните кнопку. Ладно, погнали дальше.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually say... An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it will go at the end of the... well, we'll figure that out later.
Не пускают. Так, давайте еще раз встанем. Откуда мы пришли? Сейчас. Тяжеловато. Так, мы шли по этому мосту. Просто, чтобы все было в порядку. Так. Да, наверное, надо сходить сюда.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration.
Thanks,
like
Dan.
balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well
Yes,
Someday
we do.
and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is. Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Так. Потом... Так, это мы входили. Все. Так, теперь... Это мокрое место теперь популярно, на хайпе. Мы хайпуем. Давненько такого не было. Со времен Доки-Доки и Literature Club. Ребят, кто не смотрел, кто пришел только недавно на канал, не знакомился с контентом записи стримов Доки-Доки Literature Club, это мой магнум опус как стримера, прежде всего. Чекайте. Это бесконечная дыра получается здесь.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever.
Что-то из Детей Шпионов 2, кажется.
You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Мои часы не показывают время. Ну, что ж. Ну чё, народ, погнали!
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the
Дети Шпионов были раньше, чем
pop
все это.
back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature.
Но мы в подкастах «Кино Огонь».
Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to
Мы даем всегда
I
обложку
figured the hole was as
подкасту,
deep as
поэтому там
anyone
нет
would
черного
actually
экрана.
need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean.
Да блин,
Why
подкасты
don't we
даже
just put
глубже,
all
чем
this
эта дыра.
behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Mostly. Ладно, скажем так, в этой части действительно как будто бы есть фан. Есть фан. А фристайл подкаст это даже еще больше база, чем база. О, халявный трофей здесь дают.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to
Откуда у тебя
simply
такие
give you
штуки,
the achievement.
Андрей, зачем?
Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be... Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken.
Блин,
I'm not a wizard, Stanley,
не дали.
but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of
Дайте.
ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I
Yes.
promise it will happen.
Ман. Обманули.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet? You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then. Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life. God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Но это не трофей. Трофей-то не дали. Так. Чё мы? Попрыгали, бесплатный ачивмент сделали. Это сделали. Эпилог. Ты где? А где мы? Мы здесь. А 9 это... Да, это вот это. Это выход. Да, выход это... да, вот это... Там выход. А это где-то вот получается за вот этой штукой. Я не въезжаю. Как это правильно? Сложная карта. Так. А Б. Б это... То есть это... А это... Все, я понял. То есть это прям справа от... штуки, которые называют имена. Штука, которая называет имена, это вот это. А эпилог... Давайте еще посмотрим на указатель. Вот это, наверное.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair.
Я вообще-то ориентировщик. Второй разряд.
I am happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Какой стрим без звука? Не по... А, все, понял.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, Can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't
20
they?
человек,
All
реально.
this and more awaits you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Но мы дальше будем играть в Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Мемная игра, кстати. Зря вы не приходите. Оттуда очень много мемов потом приходит в чат и вообще.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Так, давайте еще раз смотрим на указатели. По указателям как-то реально лучше получается. Где эпилог-то? Так, это мы нашли B2. Где B2 на карте? B2 вот на карте. Давайте еще раз попробуем. То есть это надо от B2 пройти карту насквозь, и будет то, что мы ищем. Вот это B2. Пройти карту насквозь. То есть эпилог. Он типа вот здесь был. Но... вот он. Стоп. И чё? Его нет. Смотрите, какая тема. В первый раз я действительно задушился. Возможно, потому что у меня были какие-то ожидания от того, как такая игра должна выглядеть. Может, еще почему-то. Но сегодня как-то на чиле. Я уже знал, что будет. И как бы ладно. Вот, так что сегодня просто вайбуем с игрой. Я даже переименую, наверное, первый как душный стрим по Stanley Parable или негативный стрим. И позитивный стрим. Как-то так. Ну все, идем на выход. Все.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Тем более, я так понимаю, он похож на Рональда, да? Футболиста. Что хотел сказать-то? Не все играли в Ultra Deluxe, и, наверное, кому-то даже интересно, что здесь. И вот мы играем как раз в часть, которая...
Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could.
Это, кстати, подало мне идею, может быть, нам накидать банк приколов и попробовать соорудить из него подкаст. Прикольный подкаст. Подписчики напишут нам какие-то приколы, и мы попробуем разобраться, сделать сюжет. О.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ну да, это уже типа подсиквеленный, да. Эпизод.
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he not doing it?
А где? О.
Stanley picked up the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Вот она, 3-литровая банка, прикол.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the pin number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes. This is certainly the most logical explanation. You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines. The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Ну, сегодня игра лучше. Что-то, ну это то же самое, только с ведром.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support. What? Wait.
Есть твист, ладно,
Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence lingering in uncertainty. Until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, He was about to find out.
О, что-то новое. Может, не брать ведро? Или взять ведро? Да, наверное, надо взять его.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Я не знаю, что мы оказались в петле какой-то. Как из него выбраться?
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Не знаю.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered.
Ладно, все, ребят. Эта игра достигла предела, на котором это еще интересно делать. Так что все. Хватит на сегодня. Спасибо, что пришли посмотреть. Как я обещал, мы поиграли еще раз. И в этот раз, видимо, последний. Все. Хватит на сегодня. Пока.